All right, well, listen, welcome everybody to the Litchfield County Sports Program being taped here on the grounds of Torrington High School. We will be bringing this program to you perhaps weekly, perhaps monthly, whenever we have good news to talk about, which is normally all the time. It's going to be sports, it's going to be academics, it's going to be arts, it's going to be theater. It's about talking about all the great things that are going on here at Torrington High School in our community and how these kids affect what's going on in our community. And you know, we just came off a really great sports run with football, right? Football made it all the way to the semifinals in Class M, and we have one of the young men with me who I've known for most of this year and a little bit of last year. And we're going to talk about how things progressed through the season. But from a personal standpoint, when sports writers get to go on runs like this, it is amazing, right? It is just so much fun to watch the kids from the first day of practice all the way to when the season ends. Now, we didn't want the season to end yet, but it had to end at some point. So while there was sadness, there was also a lot of celebration for what these kids had accomplished. So I want to thank the Raiders football and my first guest here on the premier edition of the Litchfield County Sports Program. It's Tyler Semonich. Morning, Tyler.
Morning, thanks for having me.
You got it. So we're going to start with, go back to last year. When everything kind of hit, the pandemic hits, and all of a sudden, you're not going to have a football season.
Yeah.
How did you work yourself through that?
Last year was definitely disappointing. We had a great senior class, and we definitely would have been successful last year too. But with the group of juniors that we had at the time, now seniors, we stuck together for the love of the game, and we've been playing with each other since 4th, 5th grade. So really just the love for the game and the chemistry and the bond that we all had through football is what kept us together.
4th to 6th grade, so up through the Warriors program, right? Yep. How important is that program to this city and this school?
Oh, it's everything. The numbers have been getting lower by the year, which you hate to see, but when we were in it, it was competitive. It was we had a good amount of depth on the team, so it was everything for our school.
And I think right now they're also running the single wing, right?
Yes,
We're bringing up the next generation.
Yep.
And from what I understand, your coach Rusty Elliott, his 8th grade team just had a great season, right?
Yeah, no, I heard that they did pretty well.
Excellent. So the new ones will be coming in next year. You can kind of come in and advise after that. So, as the season started this year, you had a really tough opening, right? You got Holy Cross, you got Naugatuck, you got Woodland, Seymour, and then Woodland. That's 4 of the toughest teams in the entire league. Opening game was a challenge, I think, too, because you had a COVID issue when everybody first got together. So you only practiced as a team for probably 2 weeks before that opening game, why you didn't win. What did you see in that Holy Cross game that kind of told you, all right, we're going to move forward?
It was the first game in over a year because we didn't have our junior season, and I'd say 2 of our guys were mainly starters when they were sophomores, but not a lot of people had varsity experience. So I think just the whole aspect and what it really takes in a varsity football game, we weren't really too prepared for that yet. And our offense, we did pretty well on offense, but it was just tough to stop the physicality of Holy Cross. But I thought that we did pretty well, and after we saw that we could move the ball and stop them a few drives against a very solid team like Holy Cross, they were a playoff team, that we had something special this year.
So then you go on the road to Naughty, right? Face the old rivals, the Greyhounds. And I think that's where the first surprises started to occur. Yeah. Talk about that game a little bit.
That game was, our O-line dominated that game. Our defense, we were flying around, and you heard his name all year, Clink Scales. He had one heck of a game that game. 3 touchdowns. He had a 77-yard touchdown on 4th and 1, and we really we needed to play 4 quarters of Raider football, and that's what we did that game. And we were just so ecstatic for that win.
4th and 1 for 77. That was what they written up, right?
No, we just wanted that 1 yard. But hey, the hole was there.
You take the extra. Well, that's what happens. You see that a lot. It's sometimes it's 2 yards, 2 yards, 2 yards, and then bam, somebody's gone. The offense is not made to chew up big chunks on their running game. It's just a little bit at a time, and sometimes something breaks, right? You come home against Seymour. Seymour had a really good quarterback from what I remember.
Yeah.
But you still saw some good things. You were still seeing that you could move the ball in that game, right?
Yeah, definitely. We went down 21-0 in the first quarter, which killed us that game, but we didn't give up. We kept fighting against that very good Seymour team, who also was later in the playoffs, and we knew that we were going to face adversity. We've faced adversity our whole 4 years of high school, so just to overcome that Seymour game and move on to Woodland was huge for us.
And then in Woodland, you decided to become a throwing quarterback, right?
Oh, yeah.
How fun was that?
That was one of the best games, if not the best game I've ever played in my life. Coach Rodriguez had great play calling that game. Our receivers, tight end showed out. Line gave me time, and then that was just a thriller. We got stopped in the fourth quarter, and Klinkskills booted a 60-yard punt down to the 10-yard line, and then forced a 4-and-out and game over from there. That was everything.
Yeah, that was 36-33,
Yep.
I think, and I
Yep.
think that's also when maybe the NVL kind of said, "Oh, what's going on here?" Because you're 2-2 against 3 out of 4 playoff teams, right at that point, and so you came back home again. You got the win over Derby, and I remember seeing Coach after the game when you guys were all kneeling around him, and he kind of said, "This is going to be some kind of special second half." And at that point, were you feeling that you were building towards that?
Oh, definitely. I mean, we knew those first 4 games were going to be a tough stretch, and then we had a couple. Derby, Kennedy, and then we had to get ready for Ansonia. So we knew that the second half of the season we were going to have to do better than 2-2, even though we played some tough teams. But yeah, we were just looking ahead, one game at a time.
Okay. Yeah, you kind of come home and you go down there and you end up beating Kennedy, and then you go to Ansonia. And talk about that opening drive against Ansonia, because first of all, from your perspective, you've known Ansonia sports for a long time. Is that mystique still in people's heads sometimes when you step on Nolan Field?
It's always going to be there. It's just a crazy atmosphere there at Nolan Field. But Rodriguez said before the game, he said, "We're not playing the history of Ansonia. We're playing the 2021 Ansonia Chargers." And we didn't give them our best fight. Unfortunately, we didn't come out on top. But that first drive, we dominated, and we just couldn't hang on to that against a very solid defense that they had.
How did they seem to feel on that first one? Sometimes you guys can get a feel of what the other team might be saying. "Oh, this is going to be something different," when you drove it right down the first drive.
It's Ansonia. Most teams don't score on them first, so I felt that little bit of shock in the air and a little bit of tension in the air, and just unfortunately we couldn't continue that success throughout the game.
Next couple of games are fairly easy, contests. You're probably worried a lot then about just making sure you keep everybody healthy, right? And just get through till Thanksgiving. And it was interesting that this was the first Thanksgiving game that Coach Rodriguez actually coached on Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Been around a while, but we've had snow, we've had sleet, we've had temperatures and all the rest of it. So when I woke up on Thanksgiving morning and got ready to come down to the field, there was a little bit more of an excitement because it is kind of a big alumni gathering. It's kind of a family reunion where you see people you might not have seen for a couple of years because so many of your alum come back. And we were going to be playing football on a beautiful, 40 degrees. We had a great, day for football. You do what you guys normally do. You drive down and score. But then Watertown comes back, with a long pass for a touchdown. And I think in most people's brains are like, okay, that's what we say about Thanksgiving. You never know, right? On paper, you guys came in with the same records, but against different teams. So if you were just evaluating it, you would have thought that would have been your game. But is it something about this coaching staff that just never lets you get too high or too low? It's Thanksgiving, but just do your jobs.
Oh, definitely. It's always it's just another game. The coaches really help us focus on looking forward, never to sulk in the past. But that Thanksgiving game, that was a blast. It was like you said, beautiful weather, and we played our Torrington Raider football all game.
And going into that game, I don't know if you guys scoreboard check or standings check, or people probably know what was at stake. If you win, you're in, right? And if they win, they probably would have been in. A lot of things got juggled over those couple of games between what Avon did, what Granby did. Granby Canton goes up to Gilbert and gets shut out 21-0 on Thanksgiving, which also kind of made people scratch their heads a little bit because they were the 2 seed at the time, ended up dropping down to 0. Are you aware of where you might have been, or you just wanted to get in?
We knew that if we won, we were in, and that's really all that mattered to us. And once we handled business and we saw that we would most likely be playing Granby Canton first round, same thing. We forgot about the Thanksgiving game, and we were looking ahead. Because
of the fact that adversity, I think, is always going to be in parentheses next to your generation, because you are living through a pandemic, which none of us have really been able to tell you, well, listen, Tyler, back in my day, we didn't have one. So you guys have done a remarkable job, I think, of getting through this. Well, so be it. COVID rears its ugly head again. The day after, I think it was Friday, or for your Saturday practice, you figure out you have a case, and with the tracing, you're down to almost what you were down to, preseason, like half a team, right? What was the initial response?
It was tough, but we faced adversity all year, and lose some key guys in Exodus Rosado, Michael Keeler, Adrian Fernandez, but we knew that our backups were ready to come in and fulfill their spots, and that's what they did against Granby. It wasn't 23 against the 50 that they had. It was 11 versus 11 at all times. I said it right after the game. That's all it was for us. And we stayed together. We played as a brotherhood. No matter, every single one of the 23 guys did great that game.
Now it's interesting because I love I came in to each game, to each playoff game previous, just to kind of see how you guys were handling it. I didn't know about anything with COVID until Coach Cisco, brought me down. But I'm always amazed that when I'm in the locker room with the coaches in the coach's office, it's just calm business as usual. Coach McKenna is there with Coach Rodriguez and Coach Dubois and Elliot, and they're just doing their thing, making sure they got everything they need to go. You guys all got your equipment and you head out. I love Mikey Isaac. He walks out with his sunglasses on like it's just another day at the office, right? Just going to work. Really. Because if you think about it with football, so much of that sideline is window dressing, right? There's probably only like 11 on offense and maybe 2 or 3 might sub, right? Like a couple of guys normally take the plays into you from coach, right? Did that develop during the year, by the way? Because a lot of times I would see you run over to the sidelines, and towards the end of the year I would see a couple of different guys. Did that just progress as the season went on?
Yeah, so when we were in our base offense with the wide receiver, the receivers would rotate in with the play. And then we also had our close package, which was 2 tight ends, no receivers. So that's when I would have to go over to the sideline to get the play. Okay. And then obviously if someone was rotating in for someone, then he would just give them the play. But
excellent. There's so much more complexity to everything that's going on there. It's a pretty good education, I would say, for you guys too. And your line is not just a go straight ahead, block this guy, right? There's a lot of crisscross and there's a lot of movement. We could have another hour just on that, because to have a really good offensive line, it can't just be your big and you push. You have to be able to know which way you're going. You guys were great going to the holes. But, so Tuesday night, we head up to Granby. That was kind of a cool night, right? Bus is a little bit behind the game, right? We have a little incident where it was kind of hard to turn the bus. And I will feel for the bus driver, because Coach Cisco and I were making the left to go into the school, and we almost went into the guy's house because there's not a lot of light out to where one of those turns were. And you can't turn a bus around in a half a second, right? True to form, though, Coach was calm, right? He said to me, I love getting there late. Just get there late, go out and warm up a little bit, and go play. So you guys walk in, no time to go into the locker room or change. You're kind of getting dressed on the sidelines. Granby's out there with probably like 50 players. You got your 23. I think you almost psyched them out in the opposite way.
Yeah, no, I mean, we don't care about the cameras or all the festivities and all that. It's all cool, but we really just play football. So all we needed was the time to warm up, go over our offense, go over our defensive alignments, and we were ready to go. And it was funny because Granby was out there with all their guys. They went inside to their locker room and started playing some like little kid music, some baby music. And
they were doing Shark, weren't they?
Yeah, the baby Shark. And we were just like, tune it out. Just tune everything out. All that matters is what's here with this group of 23 guys, and all that matters is what's on this field.
Because when I came and found out you only had half the team and you were missing some key players, on offense, Exodus has been that third guy in the backfield. He can throw, he can catch, he can run. He's a super athlete. The story was written, because if you can overcome that as you've overcome, COVID throughout the season, I said, all you guys got to do is come out with the W, and it was outstanding. And I think that it just showed how well you guys deal with adversity. And I think it comes, like you said, from your coaching staff, where they just stay calm, go do your business. And, it's a great playoff game. It was a terrific playoff game, right? Sometimes a 42-0 is okay for whoever's winning, but not necessarily for everybody that's watching. It goes back and forth, 14-7 at the half. They run the ensuing kickoff back, and it's 14-14. Again, at that point, for you, is it still just, all right, next play, next time?
Yeah, definitely. Those are the types of game we live for. Those. I mean, it's a thrill when we're just going back and forth and back and forth. I mean, your heart drops a little bit and your stomach turns a little bit, but it's all about just having fun and staying relaxed. And we just did our thing. We played Raider football.
And you had a lot of your offensive linemen, right? Mikey and a couple other guys went and played on the defensive end, which made a huge difference. But that's been a big deal for you all year, right? Having an offensive line that didn't have to play both ways, because they could kind of stay fresh as the year went on. Comes all the way down to the fourth quarter. You guys score with like 55 left, and all of us on the sidelines who are working and are like, Did they leave too much time? It seemed New England Patriot-like. Did you
Yeah.
leave too much time on the clock? And of course, you can't control when you score. And true to form, well, first of all, Mason Standard catches, the pass from you. And when you heard that play call, what'd you think?
I knew it was going to work, to be completely honest with you. I knew that was going to work. It's been working all year. That's our wide divide play. The receiver goes right over the middle. And I read that the high safety went with the corner route, which the wing ran. And as soon as I saw that corner turn that way, I just threw it right over the middle. Standard made the great catch, and I honestly didn't think he was going to score on it, but I knew that we were going to be able to drive the ball in the end zone once we were down there. But I saw the referee throw his hands up, and I was like, wow, I was pumped.
And that's an interesting read that you had there at the high school level with how much you are trained, recognizing that the corner went that way, knew to you that route over the middle was going to be open. As a running team, I noticed in a lot of practices, obviously you throw a lot of the passes in there. A traditional single wing might hardly ever throw, but you were kind of a double threat where you could get there. And you don't have much time in that backfield too. So what do you do, Tyler, when you step back and you're going to throw? Is it kind of tune out everything in front of you and just look down there?
You have to be aware of the guys in your faces, definitely, but it all comes down to what you practice. You practice that timing, you practice that chemistry with your receivers. So when I roll out, I'm doing my progressions high to middle to low. If no one's there, then I look for a lane and I try to run it, or worst comes to worst, just slide or get out of bounds.
How did you think that Mason reacted when he heard his number called in the huddle?
Oh, we only throw like barely 7, barely 10 times a game.
Yeah.
So when we called that play, I knew he was ready for it.
Okay.
I know he was ready for his time.
And he had a pure Disney moment too, because on the other side there's the pass interference call, right, on their final drive, and then he's able to go up against a much taller receiver, right? And we watched him on the first play, where it's always very hard for everybody on the sidelines to say, well, you got to turn around. Well, you're running full speed. Yeah. It's kind of hard to just spin, turn around, and know that you're still close to the receiver. But on the second play, he did to knock that down. What was that feeling like when you saw him knock that pass down?
I was right next to it. I saw him knock it down, and you just see all the fans just go up in the air. I see Standard. He's over there getting the fans all hyped up. I'm like, no, it's crazy. It's everything to us, especially seeing a kid like Mason who put in the work all the first 2 years of high school, even without his freshman year. Mm-hmm. I was just so proud of the kid.
You guys traveled pretty well, GHS, right? Half of those bleachers, I think 750 people fit in the bleachers at Granby. You guys had half of that, and then you had 2 deep along your fence and the rest of it. So talk about how the support of the community and the school, what it's meant to you.
Oh, our student section, our parents, our community in general, they're all amazing. We couldn't do all of it without them. Hearing all those fans and just looking around and taking it in, that's everything to football players. It's the best feeling in the world. So I'll be forever grateful for all of the fans that would come out and support us.
So you get through the quarters, first playoff win in school history. So check that one off. You had a lot of, I think during the year it was, what record you wanted to finish with. You wanted to win the Iron, which you did. You wanted to make the playoffs, which you did. And you got the first win in school history. And then you're going up against what we all knew was going to be, a very tough game, on Sunday against Rockville. And I thought after the game, what taught me the most, and I think you're also coached by Coach Richardson in baseball, right? Mm-hmm. And I remember last year, after the season was over, he couldn't talk to me either because he was so emotional about the fact that he wasn't going to be able to coach you guys anymore. And that says a lot because Coach Rodriguez, it took him at least a minute to be able to say anything because you guys preach brotherhood and love, and it's not a joke. It's really what it is, and I think that, like what he said, you have a coach, a friend, a father figure forever in Coach.
Yeah, 100%. Yes, definitely. Yeah. We live for those. Most people don't like to practice, but we live for those 8 a.m. practices, and it's our family. We spend more time with them than we do with our actual families during the season. So, okay. Yeah, the brotherhood's everything to this team and this school. And obviously, you guys felt, the letdown on Sunday. It was almost like whenever a season ends, the plug is pulled. Yeah. Whether you end terrifically, however anything ends, it's always so sudden, isn't it? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Definitely. Now, what's up for you this winter? Anything? Just gonna get ready for the springtime for baseball season. was thinking about basketball, but I need a little break.
Yeah,
after
you
that,
do.
after
Yeah,
that crazy
yeah.
football season.
And we were talking to John, the trainer, before the game. We were wondering how you and Klink were holding up, and I think Sean's being held together with some masking tape and some scotch tape. And yeah, you guys got beat up pretty good this year, didn't you?
Yeah, I pinched a nerve in my neck, so right now my whole left arm and shoulder is just
I'm
numb.
not gonna
It's
slap
just
you there,
throbbing. But I'm getting used to it. I'll be all right.
Good, good. Now, you guys, when did uniforms go in? Yesterday?
Today. We're
Today
returning
going. Okay.
everything, Yep.
Well, emotional, but also, I'm sure, therapeutic too, where you get to kind of talk to your coaches, who you see all of them in the school anyway,
Yeah.
which is a great thing, right? They're all right here with you. And then, like I said, take a little bit of rest. How about your future? What are you looking at after this year?
I plan on going to college. If I get the opportunity to play either football or baseball, I'm going to take that opportunity. And if that doesn't work out, I'll still be able to get my education. I want to major in physical education.
Okay.
So, yeah, I'm just trying to keep my options open, but waiting back from all the schools that I applied to a few weeks back.
Any thoughts of like coaching or returning or anything in the future? Would you like to do something like that?
Yeah, definitely. I'm gonna try my best to stay around Torrington, and Rodriguez has always told me that I better come back after I graduate. And I got you, Coach. You can hold me to it. I promise you.
And I want to send a special, thanks to your teammates, the 17 of them that showed up for Kids Marathon in October. They are actually on the cover of the Torrington Public School magazine, which will be sent home after Christmas. There's like 3 of the players or 3 of the kids going over the finish line. And if you're healthy, I'm hoping I see you in June.
Yep,
because you will have the most fun you ever could have with just telling kids to go run and have a good time. So that's going to do it for the premiere of the Litchfield County Sports Program here from Torrington High School. I want to thank a young man who I told the other day is now part of the Litchfield County Sports family. So Tyler, very proud of you.
Thank you, Mr.
I look
Gaffney.
forward to seeing you on the diamond soon.
Thank you. Appreciate it as always.
Thank you.